Welcome back to the show you've never heard before. I'm Ted.
I'm Jesse.
And these are the ways that you've been wrong your entire life and haven't realized yet. Jesse, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good?
You know, just like you know, Ted, that your opinion is also wrong.
Yeah. I know that you have that psychosis where you think that the things I say are wrong. But congratulations on taking that first step towards recovery.
I'm not sure if it's something I need to recover from.
Here's something, about recovery I was thinking about the other night. For our less dedicated listeners, I quit drinking about 4 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But I run into two kinds of recovering alcoholics. There is one that is like a diehard recovery acolyte, and then there are loose people. The acolytes are great people, very, very willing to pass on their knowledge and try and help however way they can, but build their entire character around the fact that they're an alcoholic, you know what I mean? And then people are a bit looser about it.
What do you mean by looser?
Just like not strictly adherent to everything that is set forth in their 12-step program. A very little amount of it is actual, like, this is what we know about recovery, this is how we do it, this is, the thing. And then most of the book is just like anecdotes from people giving their stories or what have you. And there are some people that like hold it like the Bible.
So actually, I didn't know about anything about AA until about 2 years ago. I was bartending at a restaurant, and I had this guest that would come into my bar at lunchtime, and he'd sit at the bar by himself and order a Coke and a burger. And he was a recovering alcoholic, and he was one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. Love being a bartender. You meet amazing people. But he was recently divorced and currently getting better, and he was obsessed with this book. I mean, not obsessed, but it was everything to him. He did treat it like a Bible, to the point where he got so close to me that he actually brought me in my own copy as a gift to me and wanted me to help him write his own story. That book, I did read some of it, and it's pretty inspiring.
And that's what kind of peeves me about people that have a really strict adherent to it. I understand why that is. Because when you are an addict, you feel like there's this thing that you hate about yourself that you can't get rid of. And because of that, you indulge in it more often, which is this cycle of addiction of I feel like shit, so I'm going to take a drug. And then I feel like shit because instead of solving my problems, I take a drug. So I take drugs because I feel like shit for it. I got like psychologically analyzed. The doctor said, all right, so you are depressed and you're an alcoholic. You need to maybe find a shrink, possibly go on medications, and go to AA. So the medical opinion of people whose job it is to have secure medical opinions is if you're an alcoholic, you go to AA. There's nothing else you can do. There's no pill or different organization or anything that you could do to solve your problem other than go to AA. And I would not have been able to stop drinking if it weren't for AA. Like, it is incredibly important to me, and I actually do kind of feel a little dirty talking about it, because one of the things is that it specifically stays away from public controversy. If some people say shit about AA, you don't hear anybody like coming out from AA to defend it, because that's not what it's there for. It's there for the people that want to quit drinking, and if people have shit to say about it, it's not a concern.
Right. The outside opinion doesn't matter. It's who it helps and
Right. And
how they can use it.
Right. Yeah. Because they don't want to alienate anybody via themselves. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody comes out and says, oh, AA is garbage, it made me drink more, and a lot of people eat babies or some shit, it doesn't matter, because defending something from people who have nothing to do with it doesn't really have any purpose. You know what I mean? Like, the public opinion of what it is and how it operates isn't really important. so long as it's doing what it's designed to do, which is get people to stop drinking.
And the people who criticize it often either are people who went through it, it didn't help them, maybe they didn't want to get better, and or like were forced into it or something, and so they crucify it, or people who have never experienced it, don't understand addiction.
Right. Before I entered into the program, there was a lot of trepidation because a lot of the steps have to do with God. And I was always a staunch atheist. But when I went into the program, at least in my home group, and anytime I saw it, it always says a higher power or a God of our understanding. And the higher power thing is incredibly loosely translated. It's a myriad of different things. You're not encouraged to believe in a God somebody else has already made up.
From what I understand from it, it's not necessarily saying, here, believe in this God, this higher power. It's your own higher power. And it doesn't have to be a religious one. It could be anything for you to grasp onto. Because when you're getting rid of something that is such a huge part of your life, you don't want to just let go, because then you're going to fall into the abyss and have nothing to catch you.
Right.
And that's the idea behind it. And every single part of these programs doesn't have to connect to you in every way. As long as you can get one thing out of it, then that's what's important.
Right. Somebody who isn't involved with it, somebody from an outside perspective who doesn't believe in God. There's even an episode of South Park where Randy is convinced he's an alcoholic, and it's this satirical view of AA, and its point was like, oh, AA is not really a religious thing. It has nothing to do with Christianity. But then they point out all the times it says God in the steps, and it's like it's kind of hard to believe, and understandably so. Plus, there are also like little rituals that are taken from Christianity that they use, prayers, what have you, so on and so forth. But it's not what you think it would be at all. The whole point of saying a higher power is to make you realize that you're not the most powerful thing in your life, that there's something way more powerful. And in general, it also opened me up to not being so rigid in my spiritual beliefs. And like that's something that I get really frustrated about with the atheist community, that it's all what we know. Like, we know that there's no God.
Right.
You don't really know. It's just as bad as the people who know what God is.
Well, let's talk about that. A lot of times when people who aren't Christian think of Catholics, and they are very strict in their beliefs, and you only think about the ones that you have the loudest voice, that oftentimes are the most negative, the ones that are most controversial. They're not the majority. They're just the ones who want to be heard or screaming at the top of their lungs. Same thing goes for atheists.
Right. Catholicism is awesome because it's like a great caricature of religion if you don't really have a religion. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these ceremonies, there's the funny garments that the priests wear, there's like this central supreme one figure, and it's these fucking giant churches with their really intricate designs, and there's all kinds of this crazy gothic appeal to it. It's not like, a lot of Protestantism is held in like a little chapel, or they have modest things, what have you, so on and so forth. Catholicism is like fucking old school. That's the church from the church.
The church of all churches.
The church of churches.
But the same can be said for atheists with the loudest voice. Like, for example, on the website Reddit, there is R Atheism. It's a subreddit. If you don't go on Reddit, it has like these various separate groups that you can follow, and they talk about certain things. So R Atheism, I used to be subscribed to it. I had to get rid of it. These people are so negative, and it becomes not, I don't believe in God, it's fuck Christians, fuck anyone who believes in religion. And that's not what all atheists are. Those are just the ones that have their posts the highest voted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always the most extreme opinion of a school of thought that comes through.
That's true in all regards.
And this is what annoys me about Richard Dawkins. In The God Delusion, in like either the foreword or in the first chapter, he states clearly and fairly what he is talking about is religious constructs, not the myriad of other ways you could quote God. Einstein used to say God all the time. He was taught, but his God is just ultimate understanding, knowing everything, perfect mathematics. So when people say, well, Einstein believed in God, it's a little misleading because he believed in this thing that he just called God. There's 8 billion people in this world, and there's a different concept for God for every single one of them. And at the very beginning, explicitly states that there are all these vague interpretations, and he's not talking about those, but a religious construct. And that has been lost in his celebrity. He's become this central figure for atheism, the staunch, well-read, pretentious as all fuck atheist personified. And it's not his beliefs that upset me. It's not how strongly he believes in what he does that upsets me. It's the fact he doesn't emphasize that nearly enough. Because what you are doing otherwise is calling attention to and helping that extreme, that polarization, where there is no concept of God other than the one that we know other people have. Because I don't like calling myself an atheist just as I don't like calling myself of any religion. Closest I would say I'm like a Unitarian conceptual humanist deist. The more hyphens in one's religious affiliation, the better. It's the certainty that pisses me off so much. It's like, there is no God, probably.
Right, which is why I used to call myself an agnostic. The way I describe that would be, we're not saying there is a God, we're not saying there isn't. We're saying, I don't know. And then I called myself an apatheist because I don't know and I don't care.
That's what I feel agnostics are. Like that's my bias caricature of agnostics. That's why I don't like agnostics either. It's like, fucking make up your mind. Care enough to have an opinion.
Right, but that's apatheist, not agnostic. See, there's so many different titles because there's so many different schools of thought. But see, and I don't call myself that anymore. Now I say I'm spiritual, not religious. But now, of course, that's getting shit on by the internet. I saw this video recently of making fun of millennials who say that they are spiritual, not religious, and every single point in the video is exactly what I believe, and that there's like an energy, we can't necessarily describe it, and that is what a lot of people have associated as God, and I don't understand why that's being made fun of. I don't know.
It's,
Listeners, why don't you tell me?
If you also would like to be more correct about the nature of existence and its creation, you should become a reptiliist. Which is what I am. I'm a member of the Church of the Lizard Man God.
Please expand.
So this is my ideas. Once again, you don't know God. You can't know God. Your view of God should be continuously changing. And you need to keep on remembering that you don't fucking know God. So the point is, calling God the Lizard Man God is pretty much any name that you give God is arbitrary, because it's fucking God. Like, Allah or Yahweh or Adonai, Elohim, like, none of those are God's name. Like, you can't fucking tell me what God's name is because you pointed to a piece of scripture there. It's like, that's what God is.
Right. God is our man-made construct.
Right.
God is our way of explaining what cannot be explained.
Right.
And that can reference so many different things. God doesn't necessarily have to have a name. God is an idea.
Yeah. And might as well, if you're giving a name to something that you can't know what its name is, might as well be something badass like Lizard Man.
Hell yeah. Or, Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Right. Absolutely. Lizard Man God, however, in a fight, definitely beats Flying Spaghetti Monster. He's a Lizard Man God.
I don't know about that, man.
Of course you don't. You don't understand the power of my God over everybody else's. That's what people need to understand, is that my God is more powerful than theirs.
This Flying Spaghetti Monster has more balls than your Lizard Man.
Fucking meatballs?
Yeah.
My fucking
meaty balls.
Lizard Man eats balls for breakfast. While we're on this subject, I want to talk. I want, okay, I was just having this
subject
I was just having
subject of meaty balls.
the fucking holy meatballs, sacred meatballs, please. I was just having this conversation about how it is that so many Christians are not being Christ-like and don't care, which is just absolutely absurd to me that you could do that if you really, really, truly believed that God made himself an avatar, went around for 30 years talking about these are the things that is wrong with religious structure of the state. This is what you have to remember. These are the fundamentals. This is how God really works. This is how he wants you to be. Do this. Read this book. Listen to this guy. Understand this is the creator of the universe that did this for us so that we could have eternal life. And not judging people never fucking crosses anybody's mind while they're judging people. Like, every fucking time. It's just like all this crazy shit is like, you stop judging people.
Well, they pick their favorite parts out of the Bible.
Yeah,
whatever.
like you can't do that though. It's right. God.
Whatever helps support their beliefs, their ideas. If they say that God agrees with them, then it validates them.
Yeah, but like you can easily point to any fucking scripture that says don't judge people. It's not in there like one time in passing. It's in there every fucking chapter. Don't judge people.
But then it'll put something in there like homosexuality is a sin upon the Lord. And so they focus on that because, remember, the Bible was written by man.
Right. Right. It definitely wasn't written by a bunch of ancient rabbis before the invention of science that fucking were... Oh, all right.
That's an interesting idea. Is science an invention?
Ooh. Yes, it is. Created by the lizard man god.
Science is just magic that we can explain.
I was wondered about if you could find a scientific explanation for magic, which is, I'm pretty sure by definition can't be done.
Well, it depends on what you think of as magic, because if we go back to the Stone Age, right. The caveman, fire was magic. Well, right. Now we can explain what that is. Even 100 years ago, if you were to show someone your smartphone, that's a magic box.
Right.
It's just like with religion, magic, God is our way of explaining things we can't understand. And then once we do understand it, we call it science. Is that an invention, or is it just the name that we've given something that it has always been there?
You know, I think about this all the time. I kind of wish I smoked pot regularly still. Because every once in a while something comes to me, it's a really interesting idea that would be so fun and mind-blowing to have and think about while I was stoned. So I kind of miss that.
You did drugs?
I did
Shame.
many drugs. I've had a lot of them.